What's up, guys? My name is Nick Shackelford, and I'm excited to talk about some of my favorite things. So if you're really ready to start scaling with your Facebook ads for e-commerce stores, especially if you're leveraging Shopify, I got this 5 easy step process to follow so that you can have the best start possible. First, what we're gonna start with is a creative. What do you mean? Well, here's what I mean. I'll show you some specific examples in a minute, but before I get into it, let's talk about the elements that must be in almost all the ads. I'll give you 3 specifically, but of these 3, do your best to kind of mold and fit and flex what works for you and your business. The first one is always gonna have a hook. What is a hook? It's the thumb-stopping thing. It's the reason why you're actually going to click and eventually, hopefully, buy. Next, some sort of value proposition. The value proposition is the reason why some consumer might want that product, convincing them that, hey, this is gonna make your life a little bit better. How is it gonna make me better? Well, this product's value proposition of why it'll make your life better is the reason why you're gonna click and buy. Next is social proof. We're natural human beings. We wanna know that this is being used by others. That's why you have testimonials, quotes, a little bit of the UGC mixed into it if necessary at that time. But it must be a very, very key element in getting that early click. Last is that CTA. If you're not telling them what to do, they're not going to know what to do. Here's a perfect example of this. If you look over to the left, what you're going to realize is that first initial hook. Now, this is a little bit of a longer video for you, so as you're watching it, you might be able to identify multiple of these things. But this 1-minute ad specifically is going to be highlighting things around the sound. What is that sound you're looking at? The question that it prompts, the visuals that it's going to show you. All things are extremely important. That's what makes up that hook. Then it's going to roll right into that demonstration. The demonstration is, how can the product be used? What is actually happening? How do I put it into my actual life? How do I, as a consumer, see what's actually going on here? It does a great job at showing that. Social proof, right? You've already seen it. They're starting to roll those texts in. It's either right towards the end of it, a little bit during the middle, because the social proof could actually be someone using it in real life so that you can kind of envision it as a consumer. And the quotes at the end, a great way of doing it. And last but not least, that CTA, that direct call to action, is something that is so powerful, and people forget this. If you don't include it at the end, how are someone going to know how to take action? Let me show you the second video, which I think you're really going to like too. All right, guys. So for number 2, a video example that we really like to use, the structure is a little bit different, but still some of the key elements that we definitely need to find a successful ad. How does this apply to yours? You're going to have your hook, your demonstration, and of course your CTA. Now, before I share this creative, you need to understand that hooks are a little bit subjective. Where it will come from is what test are you making? Any ad that you launch, any campaign that you launch, at the end of the day, you are trying to prove something. You are trying to get a little bit of information, what we call directional data.
Ooh. Hey, yo, Keith, you left your wallet at the restaurant, bro.
Oh, thanks, man.
How's that thing work? I was checking it out.
Works just like this.
Whoa.
Super cool, bro.
Where can I get that?
Man. You can get it with Extra. Check them out.
In this case, the hook could be 2 specific things. It could be the fact that the wallet is being shown, or the woo, which is something where I love to use a little bit of like graphical elements. I love to see a little bit of this sound to kind of keep the engager there, which you notice on the first video, which a little bit of the buzz, right? It's going to be really difficult for you to forget this for the rest of your day, and I apologize for that. But for this one, straight to the point. Product, woo, and it gets right into demonstration. The demonstration is actually in a very unique POV or point of view perspective where this is very realistic. It's something that me as a user, at the end of the day, when we're using human platforms, You want to see humans doing human things, right? So if you're able to kind of envision yourself experiencing this, and then guess what it gets right back into? The product in use. So that to me is still another demonstration and a great way of incorporating a CTA without having to do a graphic overlay. He actually says it. So where do we get this wallet? Yeah, got it at Extra. A great way of incorporating and keeping it very human. Now this last one, we get straight to the point. A nice little hook with a call to action. Check this one out.
Just got these new AirPods and earned some cash while buying them.
So the third creative and the shortest creative that we're going to show you has two of the main elements that we want. Now it might be a little bit harder for you guys to determine where the splits is, so I'm going to do my best to explain where it is. You're going to have your hook and your CTA. The hook is actually disguised as a value proposition. And the support of where the call to action is at the top. Because in the script itself, in what we worded, it was, I just bought these AirPods and I got money back, right? That in itself is, well, what is that? You said you did what? How did that come? So for me, it's one of the most interesting things that we are going to try and test. And unlike the first two, it is condensed. It is shorter. So we're trying to play with the length here. And maybe that's what a consumer might like. Maybe they like the longer ones. Using these three differences, as you can see, as a longer, mid, to a short, might be speaking differently to different consumers of your buyers. Now listen, these aren't the three and only things you should be testing, which you understand. I know that. But for us, when we're launching brand new brands, it's easy for us to know where to begin and where we need to build on. Do we need to build around maybe more value propositions? Do we need to add in a little bit more demonstrations? Or do we keep it short and sweet and just go hook right to CTA? The biggest focal point is with these examples, and there's a couple other videos that we've done with Foundr talking through other ad examples, other ad testimonies, and where to find these ads, which I can't wait to talk to you guys about next. Start here. Start with what you have, break it up, and looking through this in a nice little content brick structure is going to give you the best chance for success. Now, let me show you where you can find some of these ads very simply. Cool. Now you know 3 ad examples of things that you could create. But what if you need a little bit more inspiration? Where do you find that at? First one, unicornads.com. A great team that is around building creative. What it's going to do, it's going to source the top 1% of other e-commerce brands and showcasing some ads that are working for them. Now, we don't know of how long they've been running, or we don't know exact performance, but let it be a little bit of an inspiration for you. And the coolest thing, you can sort by niche. So if you are looking to be more specific, you can find a great resource there. The second, the Ad Creative Bank. Now, it will prompt you to kind of sign up and put your email there, but that's okay because they're going to be sending you more creative. Something that's really cool for you to get some inspo, send it to your team, etc. Very similar to what you're going to see on the Unicorn ads. It's going to be a little bit of a different assortment of creative. Now, you don't get that much search control, but it is a good thing to start with jumping off with ideas. And one of the last ones, before I give you a little bit of a bonus one, is the Facebook ads library. Now, what you can see is, say you're trying to look for a brand in the drink space. Go call it Get Matcha. Get Matcha, the easiest way is you can either go to their website, and from their website, you'll be able to navigate, usually in their footer, sometimes in the top search bar, and you're going to find that little Facebook icon. Click the Facebook page, and as you're scrolling through on the Facebook page, you'll be able to see ads transparency, or just transparency. When you're starting to search through it, go ahead and click Ads Library. If they have ads running, or if they're clever enough to try and hide it, which there are certain ways to do so, for these, they're usually not going to hide these. So you're going to be able to see all the ads that are running, and the longer that ad's been running, the more likely it is to be a major converter. And lastly, some little hack for you guys. If you want to look at getting it delivered, it is more of a paid recommendation, but it's called the Ad Box. And by signing up for them, I think it's a low monthly payment. All you're going to be able to see is new ads delivered to your inbox consistently. Again, I have no affiliation to any of these people, but they do a great job and make me and my team happier by searching through some of these ads. All right, I want to have a brief conversation around my philosophy around budgets. Now, this isn't scaling, this isn't optimizing, this is just what does it mean if I have more money or if I have less money to spend on advertising. Dollars over here, conversions over here. Generally speaking, the less money I have to spend, so if it's $10, the less likelihood of me gathering a conversion. Now, I'm not going to talk about AOV. I'm not going to talk about my philosophy on how much you should spend per AOV. I get into that in our full course. We get into that in it's a much longer conversation. But for here, as I'm spending more dollars and I'm seeing more conversions, should be, right? Now, if you're not getting the conversions here, maybe we got to optimize conversion rate, maybe we got to optimize creative, maybe we got to optimize a couple other things. But as we go, the more dollars I have to spend, the more likelihood of grabbing more conversions. It's as simple as that. If you don't have a much budget, that's okay. But you can't expect to spend this and get this. It's just not how it's going to work. What's up, guys? Before we get back to it, if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and smash that like button. And if you have any recommendations on what you want to hear about Facebook ads as you're launching, getting started, let me know in the comments below. Let's get back into it. Okay, so let's build a campaign. Now, there's a lot of options that we have. We're not going to talk about cost caps or target costs or anything eccentric. We're going to keep it very straightforward, very simple, and there's two options that we have. We have our larger testing when we have a lot of things that we have to kind of validate or work through and let Facebook do their thing with their algorithm, or we want to have a little bit more control, and we'll do that next. So the first one we're going to talk about is our DCT, Dynamic Creative Testing, where we're leveraging Facebook's ability to choose what is going to work best for our consumers. Now, this structure is a little bit different, but it's as straightforward as possible because we need learnings and we need structure and organization within the campaigns. Now, 2018, 2019 used to launch and do all these hacks and tricks and structures, and there's still some elements towards that. But right now, every campaign that we're launching, we're trying to learn something from that. So having very clear structures is going to be more important than the hacks, twists, and turns. At the campaign level, we'll dictate dynamic creative testing. Now, if you're trying to prove something, maybe you want to validate a product, maybe you want to validate an angle of a product, maybe you want to validate asset types of a product. That is what you're going to denote at the campaign level. Then we're only going to keep it within three ad sets. The more ad sets, the more money. And what we just talked about previously is if you don't have enough money, we obviously don't want to have long learnings or it takes too long to learn a little bit of what tests we want to run with. What we're going to have is we're going to have our best performing copy, and we always default there because we want to control. We don't want to have new copy. Now, if you have to, I understand. Go ahead. But we want to limit and keep something very consistent. So we're going to have best copy consistent all the way through at the ad set level. But what's going to change? Maybe we have my broad audience. And why do we choose broad? I know there's going to be a lot of you guys in the comments going like, but I want to have the most dialed in audience there really is. You go into audience selection or nuance after you have no belief in the creative that you're launching. If you believe that the creative is not strong enough or that you need a little bit of help with more detailed targeting, be my guest. Go for it. But if you have a strong creative, if you believe in the creative that's going to be launched and you win on a broad audience, it's blue ocean. It's never going to end. It's going to be more successful regardless of the audience. And can you only imagine if you crack this asset on a broad audience and then you add in a more direct or more targeted audience? It's a great combination, something that you'll get in step 2 outside of this proving campaign. Back in, dynamic creative testing at the campaign level, denoting what it is that you're trying to test. And on each ad set you see, you're going to have an organization of variations of a specific asset test. What I mean by this is, say we're only trying to prove images on the top. So this is broad asset number 1, which is images in this case. And you're going to have 3 variations of this. Maybe those variations are a different starting image or different starting frame. Maybe it's the sizing. Maybe it's a 1:1, a 4:5, 9:16. Whatever those variations are going to be, it is all different. We have to test them all. Maybe it's the duration, right? Maybe it's a video. Not in this one because they're all images here. So you don't have to have 3. You don't have to have 2, but I would recommend no more than 3. The more creative you have, the less the budget is. Remember, if this is a CBO campaign and you're allocating spend accordingly, how much spend is going to get there within one ad set with multiple variations? Then look at ad set number 2. Broad again. Now this is the second set of asset types that we're going to run with. Maybe these are all videos. of these videos, what are the variations? Maybe it's 15 seconds, 5 seconds, 20 seconds. Maybe you're going to launch with various variations or iterations of the same creative, different hooks at the beginning, which we talked about previously. Maybe it's a different duration, right? Or maybe the dimensions are different, a 1x1, a 4x5, a 9x16. All three things to be considered. You don't have to do all of them, but they're options, right? Something you want to leverage. And maybe at this last broad asset test, this number 3, maybe you have images and videos in there, right? Maybe you're trying to put them together and test against it. This simple structure, this simple setup is trying to uncover learnings, because that's where we launch these campaigns. Now, say you already have things that work. Say you already have a good asset that you found from this test. What does that structure look like? Let me show you. This is part 2, or your second option for campaign building. For me, it's the IAT, Iterative Asset Testing. Now, why is everything testing? Yes, I know there's evergreen campaigns, I know there's scaling campaigns, but right now, if you're just starting out, you're most likely going to be spending majority of your budget on testing and trying to find that winner to hopefully scale it up, which is not what we're talking about here. We're testing, we're launching, we're trying to get that information, trying to get some scale on these new ones. So let's look at what we have on this initial campaign build. So this is not a DCT. This is not using Facebook's algorithm. We are taking control and we are launching it by ourselves with our control. So you could use a CBO or campaign budget optimization. We recommend keeping the budgets at the ad set level so that you aren't having to allocate spend any differently. Tomato, you could use a CBO, you could not. We recommend ad set budgets on this one, the old school way of doing things. What we're going to have is maybe the DCT worked. Maybe we found some really great creatives in there. What do we do with it next? Keep the audiences broad because we found winning creatives. We want these creatives to do their job and continue to produce. If you want to do maybe a 1% lookalike here, no more than a 5%, but you can keep a 1% lookalike here across your most hottest audiences. I recommend that as well. Asset 1, Asset 2, Asset 3. The only variation on the ads specifically is going to be the dimensions. We're going to want a 1x1 and a 4x5. 1x1 so that we know for a fact that it's going to fill the feed, that we know for a fact that it's going to sit on all the placements and all the displayed, and then a 4x5. But it's the same exact asset. 4x5 and the 1x1 is just a ratio in which that you chop or edit your assets or chop and edit your images and videos. I recommend us keeping copy the same for all of them because again, we're trying to learn, we're trying to get that information and trying to get that data. Structures for learning is the end goal for this specifically. Why we would use this over the dynamic creative testing is because we'll be able to get full metrics at the ad set level and at the ad level. Unlike on dynamic creative test, you're really only going to get CPMs, CPCs, and conversions. Whereas for here, you're going to get all the information that you need on whether to scale it or whether to kill it. And that's why we like to use isolated asset testing instead of using dynamic creative testing. It will depend on where you are in that structure, and it will depend on what you are trying to prove. But for here, stick with these two options and let me know how it goes. Okay, one of the final things that are going to make all your lives easier, especially as you're scaling and making decisions in your ad account, is the MGD method or your correlation analysis. This is one of the main reasons why I believe success comes from understanding and learning your numbers. Yes, creative is important. Yes, finding creative is important. Yes, campaigns are important. But more importantly than all of this is knowing what you can spend so that when the timing is right to put the pedal to the metal, you can actually spend it. Or if you need to dial things back and slow down, you know when to make your cut decisions. Based on this example right here, these are the key elements that we're trying to determine. And we might have a cool little sheet for you down below, or you're gonna have to pay attention to see our masterclass with Foundr to kind of get this information for you so you can use to make better decisions. Ultimately, if we know that our AOV is at $45, our success or ROAS target is around 3x return based upon our margins, based upon what we can spend to acquire a customer. And then lastly, all these leading indicators. So a cost per added cart in a traditional e-commerce store is at the cart level, clicking the button to add it to cart. Beginning your checkout, the cost per added cart, cost per ATC, CPATC, CPIC, or cost per initiate checkout, your step 2, and then finally CPA, cost to acquire that customer, cost to acquire that acquisition. Sorry, it's a mouthful. We understand that the average amount of costs here, based upon how much ROAS, or what we need for profitability, based upon our AOV, can all be determined by pre-existing data that we have in our ad account. Now we have a simple sheet that you can kind of upload and kind of send it right into it. But if you're able to understand how likely is your cost per add to cart, your add to carts turn into your initiate checkouts, and these initiate checkouts turn into your acquisition costs. So what we need to do is compare the amount of clicks to cart, cart to checkouts, and checkouts to purchases. It'll spit back a number that you can afford to spend. This means making decisions around the average cost per add to carts in your ad account for profitability. An easy way for you to do this is check all your ads that are running. If it's above your success metric, say in the account it's about that 3x where you need it to be, and the profitability of what do those carts look like? Are those added carts at $3, $4, $5? Great, continue to let those run. Now, if they're above $6, you might want to turn this off with this example, because the likelihood of this $6, maybe it's a $7, $8, $9, it's hard for you to make that confident decision to let it continue to run. But if your other metrics are going to be in line, say this might be $8, but the cost per initiate checkout, or your step 2, might be showing at 9. Although it didn't pass gate 1, it did pass gate 2. That's okay, it earns the right to continue to run. Then if we get to the CPA, and of course, if it's right, it'll be right underneath. It earns the right to continue to run. But this all depends based upon what that AOV is spitting out to be. If the AOV fluctuates, if it goes a little bit lower, you might have to adjust your kill metrics or your decision-making metrics. If the AOV gets a little bit higher, you might get it a little bit more room to run. Now, it might be difficult for you to determine this just by looking at the ad account, but the easiest way forward is to pull a correlation, pull these metrics around what is the average cost of your added carts at success? What is the average cost of your initiate checkouts at success? And then lastly, of course, what is that CPA target that you're aiming for? Go ahead and find your numbers, plug it in. If you need any help, I'll answer those questions in the comments below. So we know that wasn't a fully comprehensive list, but it's a list that you need because it's short, direct to the point, and it'll get you running in the right direction. First, we started with the creative. Then we went into where to find that creative with some great recommendations. Then we went into the campaign structures that you need to be testing with. Budgets, great discussion around what more money actually truly means. If you have any more questions around that, I'd love to go back and forth with you in the comments. Lastly, the MGD, or the correlation analysis. Now that's a long talk in itself, so I wish I would have been able to spend more time with you on that, but we have a great talk, probably linked here or here. Overall, improve these things, add these things, focus on these things, and you'll get your 2021 Facebook ad campaigns for e-commerce stores off the ground running. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. I'm here to help. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that video and learned heaps from it. And if you did, I'd love to invite you right now to see my free training with Foundr. I'll be teaching you how to get started with Facebook ads. I'll be revealing everything I've learned from spending $100 million on platform. And all you have to do is click the link in the description and I'll see you inside.
Hey guys, hope you're loving our videos and that you're getting heaps of value from them. If you are, make sure to hit the like button and make sure to subscribe to join the Foundr fam. If you did enjoy this video and want to continue to master your skills, make sure you click here to access your free training now. We will go into way more depth with this Foundr.